Anyway, all right, so now we're talking about here. We've got these other two lovely cymbals. This is the 20-inch Paragon Diamondback china, and this is the Crescent Element 22-inch china. Both of these cymbals I refer to as the swishes, because back in the days of jazz, that was what these cymbals would have been referred to as. They're large chinas that have rivets in them. And but anyway, so these are my swishes, and these are I love these instruments. I get a lot of questions about these. You know, I think it's relatively uncommon that people use swishes all the time. Most of the time when I do scale down, my setup is either one or two hi-hats, the two omnis, and the two swishes. These are, you know, those 5 or 6 cymbals would be what I use. You know, those would be the cymbals that I always use. End of story. And you know, these two particularly. So when I bought the two omnis, I bought the omnis at the same time when I first went to music college, and I needed a pair of ride cymbals, or I needed a pair of cymbals that I could use as rides and crashes, that I could also play things that didn't sound like stadium rock, things that I could really, you know, play in softer contexts and kind of access a different range of dynamics with. That was when I bought those two cymbals. And immediately, because I already had the Diamondback, immediately this fit right in with the two omnis. You know, it has the same kind of spread. And even a relatively similar decay, and I can use it as a ride cymbal too. So immediately this fit right in with those two. And then I discovered this cymbal, which, as you can see, has the same duo lathing that the omnis do, only it's a china, and it also has rivets. So it fits perfectly with the Diamondback. And it also fits perfectly with the omnis. And it makes this one I use more as a ride cymbal than I do the Diamondback, mostly because of the duo lathing, which means I get a much drier stick sound out of this one. This one also has a very nice bell sound. So, yeah, I use these four all the time. I love these cymbals. Now, I often use one or both, the Crescent, the Diamondback. I use them not just for, like, you know, comedic metal breakdown kind of stuff, but I also use them anytime that I need I guess I would use them anytime that, like, if I was playing a normal cymbal setup with crash cymbals, anytime I would want to ride on the crash, I ride on these. You know, I think a lot of times whenever I think about riding on a crash, it's because a hi-hat is just one step too low dynamically, and a ride cymbal is either one or two steps dynamically too low. So that's when I would choose these to either maintain the same dynamic and or bring it up a level. That's what I love these cymbals for, is being able to just add an extra dynamic. Again, it's one of those things that sometimes people don't overtly notice, but because these are chinas, because they roar a little bit more than a normal either crash ride or whatever, because they're roaring a little bit, and because of the spread of the rivets, I really can grab the music from underneath dynamically and pull it along in a really nice way. So Yeah, you can find in all of the Infierce videos and a lot of the Herd videos, you can find plenty of examples of me using these cymbals. The score, the Herd of Bison song, the score is primarily based around riding on this cymbal. Again, the score is the climax of that whole album. So I really, that's you know, me bashing on this cymbal. But that's what, you know, that's what that whole thing needed. The Infierce songs All For You and Unattained, they both use these cymbals quite a lot. That's kind of closer to like metal breakdown type of usage. And again, that made sense in the case of All For You. It made sense because I needed a dynamic lift in a relatively slow tempo in a groove with a pretty large amount of space in it, like this. You know, so I had that section. This was the first cymbal I played, so that was what I went with. And then the section right after that is the same riff, but again, dynamically needs to be brought up a little bit. So in that case, I went from the Crescent to the Paragon. So to the Diamondback. So in that case, I was going. And that was, you know, that allowed me to get that lift. Same thing with, in the case of Unattained, it went backwards. I used the Diamondback first and then the Crescent. But anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of examples, but one of the main ones that I want to focus on right now, where I use them back to back consecutively in the same section, is I want to focus on the Herd of Bison song, the Nomad. After the, you know, the sort of proggy section, unison between guitar and keyboard, there's this guitar solo. And in that case, again, I needed a dynamic lift. I needed something to grab the music from underneath and really add some air into the sound. So I started on the Crescent, and the phrasing kind of goes back and forth. It's either this really open halftime, which I play on the Crescent, or it's what I would refer to as standard time, because if there's halftime and there's double time, well then standard time has got to be somewhere in the middle. And that I played on the Diamondback, more just to add a little bit more musicality to it, just to add something that your ear can catch as being substantively different. So that section would sound like. So that's a little taste of what that section sounds like without the music, and now here it is with music.